Good evening. I'm Rachel Maddow. Keith Olbermann has a very well-deserved night off. This is Friday, September 5th, 60 days until the 2008 presidential election. Before we knew Karl Rove as Karl Rove, when he was just a little-known political operative from Texas, he once told reporters, quote, "Look, I don't attack people on their weaknesses. That usually doesn't get the job done. Voters already perceive weaknesses. You've got to go after the other guy's strengths. That's how you win." Well, in our fifth story on the countdown, strategery and stagecraft used to full effect both on stage at the Republican National Convention in St. Paul and on the campaign trail on this, the first day after. If you found yourself wondering why there was so little on-air analysis of the GOP convention as the convention was happening, that's because it was artfully designed to squeeze out any room for such analysis. The schedule was carefully arranged by the party with speeches and biographical videos back to back to back, all to prevent anchors and analysts such as, say, me, from having any time to comment on what they were doing. Tonight, we are off their schedule, and we will be making the time. As it happens, Republican vice presidential nominee Sarah Palin today revealed a stump speech that repeats many of the charges from her acceptance speech on Wednesday. Filling her prescription from Dr. Rove, perhaps, Palin's charges include the claim that her experience as mayor of a small town in Alaska was somehow more presidential-ish than Senator Obama's post-college job as a community organizer in Chicago.
Before I was governor, I was mayor of a small town. And since our opponents seem to look down on that experience, I've tried to explain what that job is all about. I guess a small town mayor is sort of like a community organizer, only you have actual responsibilities.
Remember when John McCain last night implored us all to work for the rights of the oppressed? Perhaps Governor Palin was consulting her big book of demeaning insults against people working for the rights of the oppressed instead of enjoying that part of Senator McCain's speech. Here's what the Republicans didn't talk about at their convention. The issues, like the economy, unless you count Senator McCain last night feeling the pain of those who have lost their real estate investments instead of Americans who have lost their actual homes. Senator McCain's campaign manager, Rick Davis, explained this week that the Republican plan is to make this election more about the personalities of the candidates than it is about the issues. This afternoon at a glass factory outside Scranton, Pennsylvania, Senator Obama dismissed the idea that this election is about either him or his opponent.
Personalities? I mean, I think I've got a pretty good personality. But that's not why I'm running for president. I'm running for president to put people back to work, to give them health care, to make them have college that's affordable. This is not a personality contest.
In Philadelphia, Obama's running mate, Senator Joe Biden, suggested that perhaps the Republicans don't have anything else to discuss.
What do you talk about when you have nothing to say? What do you talk about when you cannot explain the last 8 years of failure? What do you talk about? What do you talk about? You talk about the other guy.
Lots to talk about with MSNBC analyst Howard Feineman, also the senior Washington correspondent for Newsweek magazine. Hi, Howard.
Hi, Rachel.
Just to make sure I'm getting the Republican spin right here. Senator Obama is a celebrity. Governor Palin is not. She can be elevated and praised on the basis of one really good speech, but he should be teased and demeaned for giving lots of good speeches. And the media should not question her qualifications and experience, but they should question his. Is that about right? Are these the ground rules for the next 60 days?
I think you have been well briefed by Rick Davis and all the other people at the McCain campaign. Sure, they're going to try to get away with it if they can. Every campaign to one degree or another does. But what usually happens, unlike the case of Sarah Palin, campaigns start out needing the media. They start out needing the media to communicate with the American public. And so they're open to reporters, and they're open by necessity to the questions that reporters ask. Most candidates start out in obscurity and need the attention. And also, over time, candidates get vetted the way Barack Obama, who was a new celebrity a few years ago, has been pretty thoroughly vetted over the last 18 months by Hillary Clinton, by the media, by everybody in the world. The difference here with Sarah Palin is she was in virtual obscurity 10 days ago. Now she's 60 days away from a heartbeat away to the presidency, and that's why reporters need to do their job and ask the questions, but that's why she's not appearing on any Sunday shows this weekend.
Howard, we're looking at pictures right now of a campaign appearance of Governor Palin and Senator McCain. Out on the campaign trail today, she did repeat word for word that community organizer mocking, sarcastic attack against Barack Obama. What do you think is at the heart of that specific attack?
Well, I know what it is because I've covered conservative movement for decades, Rachel, and what they're saying to themselves, if not to the rest of America, is that community organizer is somehow about an extension of the government. It's about appealing from a street level to get the government to do things for you. And that's obnoxious to the conservative philosophy. What they tend to forget, however, and they would rather have faith-based community organizing, which, of course, they've gotten money out of the government to do. The irony of it is that when Barack Obama was on the South Side, he was doing faith-based community organizing. A lot of his action was in the churches of the South Side of Chicago. He's actually very much in their grain. They just won't admit it.
I feel like I'm seeing some parallels to the 1992 election, sort of a fire-breathing, us-against-the-world Republican convention that made the base in that room very happy, but it may have alienated the rest of the country. And the Democrats' strategic opportunity being on the issues, the economy, really practical stuff. Do you see it that way at all?
Yeah, I think that that's an interesting analogy, and there are some parallels. I would caution you, though, because back in '92 in Houston, and I covered that convention, the Rock'em Sock'em stars in Houston were Pat Robertson and one Patrick J. Buchanan. Now, Pat Buchanan is a friend of ours, and we know him well, but he's not Sarah Palin. I mean, Sarah Palin is a rock star who drew 40 million people, and she does have a chance, at least the Republicans think so, to reach across the aisle. But I agree the other part of your analogy, which is this is really all about the economy, or should be. The unemployment numbers today, the jitters on Wall Street, the concern about a global recession, this is what this campaign should be about. And if Barack Obama over the next 60 days can't make it about that, then he risks losing this election.
Howard Fineman of MSNBC and Newsweek, thanks. Have a good weekend, Howard.
Thank you. You too, Rachel.